Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This time it's going to be of the slightly new Medicom Toy MAFEX DC Comics Poison Ivy Batman Hush version. Figure number 198 in the line. I just realized I usually pronounce it MAFEX. I think I heard it was supposed to be pronounced MAFEX, but I know a lot of people say MAFEX. So if you ever wondered why I say it a little bit differently, that's why. Don't really blame anyone who wants to pronounce it however they want. This figure here, I originally wasn't really thinking of getting. But I finally bit the bullet last month. Actually, I've been really busy to try to get to reviews. It wasn't hard for me to come to this decision because I really like the Hush line from MAFEX. So glad to finally have it here. But I am late to doing this. Again, not because I purchased it late. Well, yes, that's why. But also I've been really busy. Figure in the box. You see a lot of the contents there. It says Batman Hush on the side. Nice toy posing right there of her. As well as where it says Poison Ivy Batman Hush version. I guess that's a logo for her. Never seen that before for her. But we do also have MAFEX, Medicom Toy, and DC right there. On this side, it's just going to say Batman Hush sideways. And then you see an image of her also sideways. I mean, if you were to flip it this way, it would look normal. This side here is also going to look normal. Here you see where it says Batman Hush, DC Comics. Then you have her in a neutral standing pose. Poison Ivy, Batman Hush version 198, MAFEX, all that. On top here, you do have Batman Hush again. And then you do have an image of her. On the bottom here, there's really not much going on here besides a barcode. And you're really not going to find this in stores. But we do have a warning, choking hazard, ages 15 and up. Now on the back here, you do get some posing, you see, with her and some of the different accessories. Her with Superman as well. So, yeah, all that's really cool down here. MAFEX Hush. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. And here is the figure out of the packaging. This is a really nice figure. I'm really digging it. I don't think it's as good as the other MAFEX Hush figures that I own in my collection. I don't own all of them, of course. If you are someone that collects like only MAFEX and you have a ton of them, this may not blow you away compared to the rest of your collection. But as someone who was never able to track down a Poison Ivy figure, I'm glad that this is my first Poison Ivy. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories. Don't take a close look at the figure. Going back during editing, I forgot to include the stand here. You guys know what's going on here. I use the same image every time because it's the same stuff we usually get. It's the adjustable neck, as well as a stationary neck, different seat grips, as well as the base that has 3 different ports on it. As you can see, we have a lot of accessories going on here. If you want to skip to the next section of the review, I have the chapter function enabled if this image is good enough for you. Anyway, as you can see, we do have this alternate head. I think that this looks really good. You can see the smirk going to the left, hair flowing to the right. The eyes and eyelashes are painted on there, almost like printed. I mean, they are printed. Very nicely, actually. And the eyebrows are also really good, too. I think the sculpting could be a little bit better on this piece up here, but like this vine right there, I can see a little bit of orange maybe coming through, but it's not that big of a deal. This is done really well. I see no orange on this vine. And then this piece flowing, it's a little bit soft, but it's not movable at all. You do also, you know, have a little bit of this lighter brushing going on, really like a wash almost, the highlights of the orange of the hair, which is really nice. You can see that this one here doesn't really move around that much at all. They do kind of have the same expression. We could take a quick look, I guess. You definitely get, I mean, she's definitely smiling in this. That could be the stern expression, but that is definitely a definitive smile and a smirk on this one here. If I could try to pop this onto the body, and well, I think this one might be a little loose. Maybe I haven't popped it in all the way, but this head seems a tiny bit loose, and I would be careful in case the orange ends up scratching the green. Has it done that yet? I don't know yet, but hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to go over some of the other smaller stuff, but one thing that I like that MAFEX does is they provide these little ports for the hands, so you can actually grab this like this. You know, it's easier for me to show you how these hands look. And then this prevents shrinking in the peg hole there. I feel like there is a little bit of a dark green splotch on the palm. Not great. Yeah, that's pretty noticeable, but it's not too bad. And then that's the back there, as you can see. Pretty nice separation of dark green going on the light green there with the fingernails. All these are done in a similar fashion, but they're all, have a different expression going on. You do have these flat hands for different types of posing. Then you also have these hands, which this is almost like a good old giving the bird almost. But I never saw this in some of the promotional photos. This one here was meant for holding the suitcase in certain ways, which I can already tell doing this over the camera I might break something. So I think this hand you might want to push up a little bit, maybe heat this up a little bit, and then you fit this through. Yeah, I'm not going to try that right now. So I can only assume that because this is meant for holding the suitcase in a certain way, that this can also hold the suitcase because it's kind of gripped like a C right there. And then last but not least, we do have this open hand here, which does have this divot sticking out. The idea is that you have this wad of cash, and you can see on the lower half right there, that's where the divot will go into, like that, and it holds this pretty well. You can use this stack of cash for other characters if you wanted to, if they can hold certain accessories. And this wad of cash doesn't look too bad. We do have the suitcase here, which is this silver plastic, very nice metallic, very reflective type of paint. And I do like the overall sculpting. There's not much to talk about with it because it's just, a suitcase. It's very standard. It looks like it opens, but it doesn't, because you do have this one here. Let's back this out a little bit. This is the one that has money printed on it. I do wish some of it would protrude a little bit more. Maybe have some like wavy detail like this does here. You can see some of the wave details and like separation of bills there. But it's just, flat on here. You do have this part here that sticks out to keep that secure. So that's still really cool. Okay, so the green vine effects, I will show them off on the figure in a second. They are all done in a very similar fashion, where you have this darker green, it's like molded in this plastic, and they're all very detailed actually. I am going to bring out Superman because he does come with some vines. Seems like they've changed the approach since Superman's release. This is almost like a tealish color almost. And it's not as detailed as the other vines that you get, not only on some of the parts that are sculpted onto Poison Ivy, but these separate softer plastic or an even harder plastic vine pieces. But these will go around the bicep there. This one here, again, you can see some pretty nice detailing on the leaves. This will go around her neck, I believe. Again, I'll try to show off everything in a second properly. These should be going up around her thighs, so they do have an opening somewhere, and these might be a little bit more difficult to get those on. Again, probably best to heat these up a little bit and then insert them. These will go around the forearms, I'm pretty sure, since they are a little bit smaller looking. One way to tell is when you're looking at the box, because throughout in promotional images you'll see these on her. So like these, the way that these were separated, and there's very long pieces, these are definitely for the shins on the lower parts of the leg. So with all of that done, this is what it looks like popping on there. I don't have really any problems popping any of these things on here. It takes a little bit of finagling to get done. Again, I do recommend you heating up these accessory pieces here just so it fits on her better. But it all looks pretty good, like how she's supposed to look. I will not have these on during the actual detailed portion though, but you can also see how they look next to the very few that we got with Superman, those few vines we got. When you're editing and you think you recorded a detail section, apparently you didn't, so you have to go through and do the whole thing over again, even though you don't remember every single little thing you wanted to say about this figure? Yeah, me too. So this is a really nice looking face sculpt here. I do think it looks a little too similar compared to that smirk we had earlier, but this is still a really nice, gorgeous looking face sculpt. I really like the printing on the eyes. The green in there is really cool. I also really like those eyelashes. The eyebrows are done really nice. The lip color is also really good. And overall, I feel like the skin tone just throughout the whole figure is pretty consistent. In some areas, like in some joints, like back here, of course, it's not going to match because they didn't paint the joint. Same thing around the ankles. I feel like the top of the feet are a little bit lighter compared to, her lower legs here. The rest of it, I also think the face, it could be the lighting, but the face might be a tiny bit brighter compared to the rest of her skin tone. But it's really not that big of a deal. if it is. I similar to the alternate head, if I can speak. This here is very nicely detailed. This is not as nicely detailed, but it's still pretty good. And then you have a little bit of orange bleeding through here. You have the really nice highlights throughout the orange on the hair. Now, I do want to mention this to you guys. The orange, of course, likes to scuff. Now, I don't really have the means to fix it right now, but honestly, a little bit of water on a Q-tip and then just gently rubbing around here to get that off. It gets that off very well. I had some orange scuffing here that I thought was permanent a while ago, but then I rubbed it just ever so slightly. But be careful because you could end up making parts of the plastic glossy from that paint. But yeah, the orange does seem to be an easy fix if you scuff this a little too much. But there's also a little bit of a chip right here. Excuse me again. On the disc right there. Speaking of these discs, the thing I wanted to mention here is, and this really isn't that big of a complaint for Catwoman, but in that review, these discs come undone. It's so hard to see because of the black here. But there's a peg from the body going up, and there's a little bit of a hole sculpted into that disc piece, so it keeps that secure, but it comes undone. I think that, yeah, you see right here, similar approach, but it stays in really nice. I've been moving this around decently. It doesn't seem like it wants to come undone really at all. So that's pretty nice there. I'm digging that. Now, you may think this is a plain looking figure simply because, like, if you just look at how the forearms are done, there's not much detailing. It's just an overall mold of anatomy, basically. And the same thing with the legs. But that's really, that's her character design, So can't really blame them for getting pretty accurate with it. But again, lots of this green skin tone painted on here. You can feel the paint on there. Not like it's going to come off or anything. But then we do have a little bit of I wouldn't say discoloration, but a little bit of inconsistency because they didn't paint the joint here. If they did, it probably would have been too tight. And then the hand looks a little bit brighter than here. Again, it could be the lighting. In person, it doesn't seem too bad, but it is still a tiny bit noticeable. But it's not really a complaint, just something I want to mention. Now, we do have some detailing on the relaxed hands. I do apologize I didn't show off the other hands on the body here, but I don't have time to do a ton of photos as of late. So, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see those in this review, at least her with those hands. But you can see how the detailing is done. With the vines on the back and around the palms too. Not much detailing on the inside of palms besides the vines there. Seems like the paint, you'd have to look really close, but ever so slightly some of that paint is the sculpt there for the vine is not painted. But again, you have to really, really, really look close. And it's not a nitpick. I don't really mind it because it's not very noticeable. Just something I noticed just now when I was looking hard. Fingernails. They came through pretty nice there. Now, around the chest and around the hip section, they have these slightly brighter green vine sections. And then you do have the stomach, which is in like a darker green. So this is a little bit brighter. I don't think it looks as detailed as the vines that she is, comes with, those accessories. But I still think they look pretty good. And the paints, all of that is going on pretty well, actually. You do have a little... No, dropped her. You have a little bit of some musculature detailed, like around her back, around the back of her shoulders, her actual back, and then her stomach as well. So, it's not just like smooth detailing. Well, again, this is pretty accurate to, the anatomy of, her. So, but they do have a little bit of detailing to make this look like she's actually wearing a suit, or vines, I guess. Again, pretty much nothing going on here besides the actual leg sculpt. No extra detail or anything, but that is, part of the character design. You get a little bit of some, certain anatomy sculpted in the knees right there. Not too bad either. Then you get down to the calves and the shin area. Then you get to the ankles here. I showed it off earlier, but these can be removed, so you can put those vine pieces in. Then you do have these vines, similar to the chest and stomach area. You have the vine sculpted on top of the feet. I think that the actual sculpting could look a little bit better, but it's not too bad. There's nothing going on the bottom here. Her feet are a little bit small. I'm gonna have to re-establish her really quick. But from what I've been able to do with some of the posing, she actually doesn't have a problem that much with standing on her own. If you get her into some crazy dynamic poses, then maybe that's when you would implement the stand, of course. But yeah, it's a really nicely detailed and just a very nice looking figure. Okay, so the head doesn't really want to move up at all because of this long strand of hair in the back. That's as far up as it can go, really. And then down like that, you get that added articulation from that joint going into the torso, so you can swivel. It feels a little loose here, but it actually does keep a pose pretty well. We do have the butterfly joint system going on here with the ball joint on inside. Moves all the way around. You can shimmy it up and down a little bit, forward and back like that. It does want to get a little tight on me, so I'm not going to mess around with that too much. You do have arms that could go in and out like that. Upper arm swivel. You do also get double jointed elbows. They're a little bit tight, but still work. Hinge right here, and then you can make that swivel to go in and out like this, and then swivel it right here. You do have a diaphragm joint here, but it's not the greatest range of motion. You can go a little bit side to side, forward, back, a little bit swivel, but you're mostly going to get that here at the stomach. So swiveling side to side, forward and back, again, it feels a little loose, but it keeps these poses really nicely. You can get the drop down system here, and you can go out here like that, and then you can go out a little bit like this too. You do have a little bit of a thigh swivel, but not a whole lot. Double jointed knee. This little piece of the sculpt right there kind of gets in the way of the outward motion on the ankles, but you can swivel like that, and then rotate it down. And again, these feet like to pop off a little too much. Let me show you with this one. Goes down like that, up like so. We do have a little bit of rocking, and then a toe hinge that's a little bit tight. Measuring out the figure, we're getting pretty close to 16 centimeters, just under that. So in terms of inches, we're getting a little bit over 6 inches. I have all of the MAFEX Hush figures that I own so far here for the size comparisons. Black and gray Batman, Catwoman, Superman, and Nightwing there. As you can see, I think she's actually going to be the shortest out of all of them, just ever so slightly shorter than Catwoman. Overall, I really am digging this figure. I think that Medicom did a nice job overall. I really like the detail and sculpt work going on here, especially with the head sculpt. The face, the printing on there is great. The detailing in the hair is also really nice. This figure seems a little plain, but that's mostly because of the character design. I think that with what they had to capture here, they did it very well. The articulation is also very nice here. It's smooth when you need to move it, and it's tight when it needs to stay in place, which is what I really love about these newer MAFEX figures. I do want to mention again that it seems like that orange like to rub off a little bit onto the green skin tone, but a little bit of water and a Q-tip and some gentle rubbing in those areas, and it seems like it comes off just fine without the green being sacrificed at all. The amount of accessories are really great here too. Different hands, different head, the suitcases, as well as it's cool that we have, a thing of cash. And I really like the different vine pieces you can take on and off. It just really gives some extra detail. If you do want it to be a little bit more detailed going on there, you have that option. This is overall a really nice figure. It is a little expensive, but that's just kind of the name of the game with MAFEX figures. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.